This is Dr. S. the Legend. He's back. I want to talk about socialism, the god that failed. What do we mean by socialism? Well, the government owns everything. What this does is kills incentive to produce anything. Socialism is nothing new. It comes each generation, like the flu. During the Great Depression in 1932, 1 million people voted for the Socialist Party. In 1912, another million. In 1920, another million. I know I'm skipping the years. 1924, another million. People are acting like this is a new idea. The have-nots want what the rich have. So they tax the millionaires and the billionaires, or even imprison them, or better yet, let's just kill them. And it's interesting about the people that behind socialism, these are not the exponents, these are not poor people. Bernie Sanders flies private, he's got 3 homes. They call themselves democratic socialists. Guess what? It's socialist. Socialism. Forget about the word democratic. It's meaningless. Mamdani's parents, they're worth up to $20 million. And he's proposing government-owned grocery stores. Now, where have I seen this before? Oh, it's called the Soviet Union, where all the government owned all the grocery stores, and people had to wait in line for hours and hours, and when they ran out of product, too bad. By the way, the only line that you did not have to wait at all was the vodka kiosk line. Endless vodka was available. We saw this in the French Revolution in 1789. Take from the rich. And why not kill them? Anywhere between 40,000 and 300,000 people died during the Reign of Terror and the War in Vendée. Now, California has proposed a wealth tax. This is not just a tax on income. This is a tax on your wealth, your assets. They want to take 5% of your assets for people that have over $1 billion in net worth. Well, you say, well, yeah, they can afford it. Well, that amounts to $50 million apiece. So what's going to happen? What are the 200 billionaires going to do? Well, they're going to leave California. Why would they hand over $50 million? You have to also understand, probably all of these billionaires, their assets are tied up in businesses, like Elon Musk. They hire many, many people. So if they leave California, they're taking their money, they're taking their businesses, and they're taking people's jobs out of California. It's the craziest idea I've ever heard, a wealth tax. It's on the ballot this November in California. Even their governor opposes it. Socialism never works. It's never worked. It's the definition of stupidity. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result like it's going to work. So what's the record of the socialists? The utopians? Well, what usually happens is a dictator will take over. USSR, Soviet Union. What did it stand for? Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. Now you're going to say, well, they're the communists. Well, the communists call themselves socialists. How do you know the difference? So when Stalin took over, he executed 1 million people, mostly members of the Communist Party. He didn't like the revolutionaries. Then another 5 to 7 million people died in the famine in Ukraine. Then another couple million people he deported. So at least 15 million people either died or suffered severely under socialism in the Soviet Union. What about China under Chairman Mao? The Great Leap Forward, 1958 to 62. Anywhere between 15 and 55 million people died. The Cultural Revolution from 1966 to 76, another 2 million. These were all members of the Communist Party. You have to understand the revolution devours itself. Once a dictator assumes power in the socialist or communist world, they don't want any revolutionaries around. And what about Adolf Hitler? Responsible for about 55 million people dying before World War II and during World War II. Well, his political party was called the NSDAP. Now, what does that stand for? National Socialist German Workers' Party. I'm translating it from the German. We get the name Nazi before the word national in German is National. So Hitler became the leader July 29th, 1921. And then he gave an interview in 1923. I'm quoting him. Socialism is the science of dealing with the common weal. Communism is not socialism. Marxism is not socialism. I shall take socialism away from the socialists. Socialism is a Germanic institution. And I've always told people that the Nazis were socialists, and so was Hitler. And he's saying it right there. They were socialists. Again, the difference between socialists and communists is just words. In the modern period, a fellow by the name of Pol Pot had the Khmer Rouge in Cambodia, alleged communist. Killed up to 3 million people in Cambodia between 1975 and 79. That's 25% of the population. And a lot of these were members of his own political party. What about Cuba and the Castro brothers? Anywhere between 30 and 100,000 people, and that's probably a low number that they whacked. Then there's the old myth that the socialists point to. Well, socialism has succeeded in Scandinavia. Now, the major country in Scandinavia happens to be Sweden. And Sweden experimented with socialism between 1970 and 1990. It was an absolute unmitigated disaster. No jobs were created. Taxes were high. Businesses left. So what the government did by 1990, there was a general agreement that socialism didn't work, and they reduced government spending and reduced taxes. And lo and behold, the Socialist Party today in Sweden gets a mere 10% of the vote. Sweden is not a socialist country. If you ask the majority of people there, they will tell you it's a capitalist country, but they have social welfare programs, just like we have in the United States. And we are not a socialist country. And Sweden is not socialist. They tried it and they failed. So you can call it socialism, you can call it Marxism, you can call it communism. It's all the same. A few revolutionaries, a few people at the top capture the movement, they take it over, and then what happens is a lot of people die. Millions of people. The revolution devours itself. Now, I spent some time teaching at the university level, and from time to time, I would get students who would almost brag to me that, socialism is great, and communism is great, and Marxism is great, and maybe they were socialists or communists or whatever. And I would look them dead in the eye, and I would tell them, you're dead. And they would look at me and say, what are you talking about? I say, you have to understand, if the revolution is successful, you will be a dead person. Because the dictator that takes over, he will not tolerate revolutionaries like yourselves, young revolutionaries. You will be a dead person. And I didn't have any comment after that, after I told them they were dead. They were shocked. So, dictators do not tolerate revolution. And we go back to the old Machiavelli the Prince. What happens when the dictator takes over? Eliminate all enemies, real or imagined. So, again, to repeat, there's nothing new about socialism. It's never worked. It's been an absolute unmitigated disaster. And anybody that's peddling this, these are peddlers. They're peddling some sort of freedom to the masses of people as a cure-all, and in the end, they may die. Now, I want to let you know what my podcast is. This is Dr. S. the Legend. This is who I am. If you have any comments, drsthelegend@gmail.com. You can Gmail me, and you can argue about how great socialism is. Not. And the beautiful paintings behind me of the West, of the rodeos, the cowboys. This can be found at pbensenior.com. Look up this website. There's more and more Western scenes there. Okay, Dr. S. the Legend, signing off.